How do you terraform a world that's not just millions of miles from Earth, but one where the skies rain methane, the oceans lie hidden beneath miles of ice, and the gravity barely holds you down? And more importantly, why would we choose to reshape these moons instead of the barren worlds closer to home? In the year 2950, what drives humanity to transform the most inhospitable moons of Saturn into thriving, living worlds? Could these icy, distant landscapes become the key to our survival, or perhaps our greatest mistake? To understand how we got to the point of reshaping entire moons, we have to take a step back and look at the history of terraforming itself. Believe it or not, it all started with the wild dream of turning Mars into a second Earth. Back in the 21st century, Mars was our first serious attempt at terraforming, even though the technology back then was primitive compared to what we have now. Early concepts seemed impossible, pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, melting the polar ice caps, and creating artificial magnetospheres. But each breakthrough, no matter how small, brought us closer to making the uninhabitable habitable. Fast forward a few centuries and the technologies that emerged from those early attempts on Mars evolved beyond what anyone could have imagined. We cracked the mysteries of nanotechnology, developed AI-driven climate control systems, and mastered the art of bioengineering ecosystems from scratch. By the 24th century, Mars was no longer just a red desert. It had rivers, forests, and even breathable air. But by then, we were already looking further. The moons of Saturn, with their rich resources and unique environments, became the next frontier. And that brings us to today, the year 2950. The Saturnian system is no longer just a collection of frozen moons orbiting a gas giant. We've turned them into the building blocks of humanity's future. But the challenges we faced were on an entirely different scale. Unlike Mars, these moons have almost no atmosphere to work with, some are covered in miles of ice, and others are bombarded by Saturn's radiation belts. So, how did we even begin to approach terraforming these alien worlds? Take Titan, for example. It's Saturn's largest moon and at first glance seemed like the most promising candidate. It already had a thick atmosphere, but the problem was it was made mostly of nitrogen and methane. Not exactly something you want to breathe in. So the first step was to introduce oxygen into the atmosphere. We used giant orbital factories to break down the methane and release oxygen while scrubbing out the toxic elements. Over time, the skies started to clear and we got one step closer to making Titan livable. But then there's Enceladus, one of the most fascinating moons in the system, known for its massive geysers shooting water into space. The challenge with Enceladus wasn't creating an atmosphere. It was dealing with the thick ice crust covering its subsurface ocean. We developed nanobots designed to burrow deep into the ice, melting pathways and releasing heat to slowly raise the temperature. At the same time, we seeded the oceans with bioengineered microorganisms that could thrive in those frigid waters, kickstarting a completely new ecosystem. Of course, the smaller moons like Rhea and Dione weren't as easy to terraform. Their weak gravity meant we had to develop ways to artificially increase it, creating massive infrastructure that generated localized gravity fields just to keep everything stable. And that's not even mentioning the need to build entire magnetic shields around these moons to protect them from Saturn's intense radiation. The scale of these projects was unimaginable. Yet here we are on the brink of transforming these icy, distant rocks into new homes for humanity. Now all of this begs the question, why go through so much trouble for these moons? Why not stick with Mars or the inner planets, places that seem a lot less extreme? The answer, surprisingly, has more to do with the long-term survival of our species. By the 27th century, it became clear that staying close to the sun was a short-term solution. Climate instability, overpopulation, and resource scarcity pushed us to look further into the solar system, and Saturn's moons offered something unique. Resources we couldn't easily find anywhere else. Take Titan, for instance. It's not just about turning it into another Earth. Titan's vast reserves of hydrocarbons became invaluable for producing advanced fuels and materials. Enceladus's subsurface oceans, on the other hand, provide an endless supply of water, crucial not just for drinking but for fuel production via electrolysis. And then there are the rich mineral deposits found on Rhea and Dione, perfect for construction on a massive scale. These moons became the backbone of our outer solar system expansion, offering a lifeline of resources that allowed us to build further, faster. But it's more than just survival and resources. There's something deeper here, a drive to explore, to push the boundaries of what's possible. Terraforming Saturn's moons was never just about making new homes. It was about proving that we could. It's a testament to how far humanity has come, from gazing at distant worlds through telescopes to literally reshaping them to fit our needs. These moons, once considered frozen, inhospitable wastelands, are now becoming thriving, living worlds. And that raises the question, how far will we go? What's next on the horizon after Saturn? Looking at where we are now, the idea of terraforming Saturn's moons almost feels like just the beginning. After all, once you've turned methane lakes into thriving ecosystems and melted oceans beneath miles of ice, what's stopping us from looking even further into the solar system, or beyond? Uranus, Neptune, and even the moons of Pluto are suddenly no longer just distant dots of ice in the void, but potential stepping stones for humanity's next great leap. But, with every moon we terraform, with every new world we reshape, a bigger question looms: should we? It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of what's possible. But what are the consequences of playing God on such a massive scale? Every moon, every planet, has its own natural history, some of it spanning billions of years. Are we erasing that history by forcing these worlds to fit our needs? And if we discover life, even microbial life, on any of these moons, do we have the right to alter their environment to make them suitable for us? These are the ethical dilemmas we now face. Dilemmas that our ancestors couldn't have imagined when they first dreamed of reaching the stars. Yet here we are standing on the edge of a new era where humanity isn't just a species bound to Earth, but one that leaves its mark on the universe. The Saturnian colonies are proof that we have the power to rewrite the rules of existence itself. The real question now is, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? With all these possibilities, it's important to reflect on what we've done so far, and the weight of those actions. Terraforming, at its core, is the ultimate expression of control over nature. We've taken lifeless, frozen worlds and turned them into environments where humans can live, breathe, and thrive. But every step we take to shape these moons comes with a profound responsibility. Imagine for a moment standing on Titan, looking up at Saturn's massive rings arcing across the sky. It's breathtaking, otherworldly, but it's no longer the Titan that existed untouched for billions of years. We've fundamentally changed it, and in doing so, we've altered not just the landscape but the entire future of that moon. Take the case of Enceladus. Beneath its thick crust of ice, we discovered a hidden ocean, a place where life, at least in microbial form, might have existed for eons, undisturbed. The decision to terraform that world wasn't taken lightly. We had to ask ourselves, if there's life here, do we have the right to interfere? Ultimately, the potential benefits outweighed the risks in the eyes of many, but it's a moral gray area we've never truly had to face before. This is where the line between exploration and exploitation blurs. The more advanced we become, the greater the temptation to push forward without fully considering the long-term impact. And then there's the practical side of things. Even with all of our advancements, terraforming is an incredibly complex and resource-intensive process. It took centuries of trial and error, along with the development of technologies we couldn't have imagined just a few hundred years ago. The process isn't as simple as flipping a switch and waiting for the atmosphere to become breathable. It involves a delicate balance of creating an ecosystem from scratch, one that can sustain itself without constant human intervention. We've had successes, yes, but we've also had failures. Moons that didn't respond as expected, or where initial life support systems collapsed under the harsh realities of space. But these failures taught us invaluable lessons, pushing our technologies and understanding of planetary science to new heights. Today in 2950, the work continues. Each moon is its own experiment, its own challenge, requiring specific technologies and solutions to make it habitable. Take Rhea and Dione, for example. Their low gravity meant we had to create artificial systems to enhance it, while also developing magnetic shields to protect them from Saturn's intense radiation. These aren't temporary fixes, they're massive, ongoing projects that will take centuries to perfect. And yet, it's precisely these challenges that drive humanity forward. It's not just about creating homes, it's about proving that we can, that we have the ingenuity, the perseverance, and the ambition to take on the impossible. But with every success, we're forced to ask ourselves, where does it end? If we can terraform moons, entire planets, what's stopping us from going even further? Could we one day reshape whole solar systems to fit our needs? And at what point do we lose sight of the balance between exploration and domination? We're at a pivotal moment in human history. What started as a quest to survive, to find new worlds where humanity could thrive, is now something more. It's a test of who we are and who we want to become as a species. Are we creators, or are we conquerors? As we continue to terraform Saturn's moons, the scale of what we're doing forces us to confront our identity as a species. Are we simply expanding our reach, or are we fundamentally changing what it means to be human? For millennia, humanity has been shaped by Earth's environment, its gravity, its atmosphere, its ecosystems, but now, as we reshape entire moons to suit our needs, we're also reshaping ourselves. Living on Titan or Enceladus isn't like living on Earth, and that's something we don't fully understand yet. How will generations born on these moons adapt, physically and mentally, to environments so different from the one we evolved in? We already know that even living in lower gravity affects the human body in strange and unexpected ways. Muscle atrophy, bone loss, and changes in blood circulation are just a few of the challenges. On Saturn's moons, we've had to develop new forms of medicine and even bioengineering to help future colonists adapt. Imagine living your entire life in a place where gravity is only a fraction of Earth's. Your muscles wouldn't develop the same way, your bones would be lighter, and over time we might even see new evolutionary traits emerging. It's possible that future generations born on these moons could become so different from Earth dwellers that they might no longer fully identify with the rest of humanity. Then there's the psychological aspect. How do you prepare someone for the reality of living on a distant moon with an artificial atmosphere, where the horizon is dominated by Saturn's rings and there's no natural sky as we know it? The first colonists faced extreme isolation, not just from Earth, but from the very idea of Earth. You're living in an environment where everything is controlled, synthetic, and alien. To combat this, we've developed virtual reality systems that mimic Earth's environments, letting people feel like they're walking through forests or by oceans. But that raises another question. When you're constantly immersed in artificial worlds, how do you stay connected to the reality of where you actually are? And at what point do you start losing touch with your roots on Earth altogether? This brings us to a deeper philosophical issue. As we continue to transform these moons, are we also transforming ourselves into something unrecognizable? The Saturn colonies have already sparked a cultural divide within humanity. Colonists on Titan, for example, are beginning to see themselves as pioneers of a new human civilization, separate from Earth's legacy. They argue that they are no longer just Earthlings, they're Titans. This shift in identity is subtle now, but what happens when the distance between Earth and its outer colonies grows, not just in physical space, but in culture, biology, and mindset? It's not just about survival anymore. It's about the kind of future we're creating, not just for ourselves but for the generations that will come after us. Will the humans who grow up on these moons still share our values, our sense of history, or will they evolve in ways that make them almost alien to us? After all, they'll be growing up in a world where the rules are different. Their skies will never be blue, their air will never be truly natural, and their bodies might adapt to environments we can't even imagine. Will we one day find ourselves looking at our descendants, scattered across the moons of Saturn and beyond, and realize they are no longer truly human in the way we understand? These are the questions we have to grapple with as we expand deeper into space. We're not just transforming these moons, we're transforming what it means to be human. And the deeper we go, the harder it becomes to predict where that transformation will lead us. Are we evolving into a multiplanetary species, or are we sowing the seeds for new divergent branches of humanity? It's a future that's as exciting as it is uncertain. But one thing is clear. By terraforming the moons of Saturn, we're opening the door to possibilities we never could have dreamed of. The real challenge now is figuring out how to walk through that door without losing sight of who we are. Right now, we're standing on the edge of a transformation. Not just of these moons, but of humanity itself. Every step forward in terraforming brings us closer to creating entirely new ecosystems, new forms of life, and potentially, new forms of society. But with every success, we're also walking a tightrope. Because let's face it, there's no real manual for what we're doing out here. We're experimenting on a scale that has never been attempted, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What happens if we make a mistake? What if we push too far, too fast? Consider the balance of ecosystems on Earth. Every species, every system, is part of a delicate web that took billions of years to evolve. Now on Saturn's moons, we're trying to recreate that balance from scratch, often in environments that are completely foreign to anything we've known. We've introduced bioengineered plants and animals, carefully selected to survive in low gravity and harsh climates. But these ecosystems are fragile. One misstep, the introduction of a single invasive species or a failure in atmospheric regulation, could cause a collapse. And what then? Do we start over? Do we abandon the moon altogether, leaving it a failed experiment in our quest for expansion? This is the risk we face every day in the Saturnian system. The colonies are growing, the ecosystems are stabilizing, but only just. Each moon has its own unique conditions that make them fragile in ways we're still learning to understand. Titan, for example, might have a thicker atmosphere, but it's still a world where the slightest fluctuation in temperature or pressure could undo centuries of progress. Enceladus, with its hidden oceans, presents the ongoing challenge of maintaining warmth and circulation to prevent it from refreezing. Every day is a balancing act, requiring constant monitoring and adjustments by AI systems and human engineers. It's a dance between control and chaos. But while we manage these challenges, we also have to think about the long term. What does success really look like for these colonies? Right now, we're still in the early stages, building domed habitats, testing out small ecosystems, and slowly increasing the number of settlers. But in 100 years, 200 years, the vision isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. These moons could become bustling hubs of commerce, research, and culture, each one with its own distinct identity. The dream is to create fully self-sustaining worlds where people don't just survive but live full, rich lives. But that dream brings with it new questions. If we're able to make these moons truly self-sustaining, how will that impact their relationship with Earth? Will they remain dependent on Earth's resources, or will they eventually break free, becoming independent colonies with their own economies, governments, and cultures? Could we see a future where the colonies start to see Earth as just another distant historical footnote, a place of origin, but no longer relevant to their daily lives? It's not unthinkable. As these colonies grow and evolve, they could very well outgrow their reliance on Earth, just as Earth once outgrew its reliance on earlier civilizations. And what about beyond Saturn? Once we've mastered the art of terraforming these moons, the rest of the solar system starts to look like the next logical step. Moons around Uranus and Neptune, the Kuiper Belt, even the icy worlds orbiting Pluto, they're all potential targets for future expansion. Each one presents its own unique challenges, but the blueprint we're developing here on Saturn's moons could serve as a guide for generations to come. What we're learning here could open the door to a new era of exploration, where humanity stretches out across the farthest reaches of the solar system and beyond. But with every leap forward, we have to ask ourselves, are we prepared for the consequences? With each world we terraform, with each colony we build, we're not just shaping planets, we're shaping the future of humanity. Are we creating a legacy of exploration and discovery, or are we on a path toward losing our connection to the very things that made us human in the first place? It's a question we'll have to answer sooner rather than later, because with each new world we transform, we're taking one step closer to becoming something new ourselves. The question is, will we recognize who we've become when we look back? As we terraform and settle Saturn's moons, we're entering uncharted territory, both physically and philosophically. We've talked about how these projects push the boundaries of what humanity is capable of, but there's another side to this expansion that we can't ignore: the social and cultural implications. For centuries, human civilization has been defined by its connection to Earth. Our history, our culture, our very identity have been shaped by the experiences and environments of our home planet. But now, as we establish permanent colonies in places so different from Earth, what happens to that identity? We're already seeing the beginnings of a cultural shift in the Saturnian colonies. Life on Titan is nothing like life on Earth. The settlers there don't wake up to blue skies or the natural rhythms of a day on Earth. Their lives are governed by artificial environments, and their relationship with nature is entirely different. On Titan, nature doesn't exist in the way we understand it. Everything is engineered. The air they breathe, the food they eat, the very ground they walk on. Over time, that's going to shape the way people think, the way they interact, and even the way they see themselves. Imagine a child born on Titan 100 years from now. To them, Earth will seem like a distant, almost mythical place. They'll know about it from history books, videos, and stories passed down from their parents or ancestors, but it won't be part of their lived experience. Their entire world view will be shaped by the harsh realities of living on a distant moon, in a controlled, artificial environment. What kind of art will they create? What kind of values will they hold? Will they still feel connected to Earth and its legacy, or will they see themselves as part of something entirely new? This disconnect from Earth could lead to a new sense of identity, one that's more localized to the moons and the colonies. We might see the rise of Titan culture, or Enceladus society, where the values, customs, and even languages start to diverge from those of Earth. Just as different cultures on Earth evolved based on geography and environment, the same could happen with our off-world colonies. And if that happens, will the people of these colonies still see themselves as part of a unified humanity, or will they begin to view Earth as something foreign, something distant? Could we be laying the groundwork for a future where the colonies see themselves as separate from, or even superior to, Earth? This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. We've seen similar patterns throughout history. Think about how European settlers over centuries developed distinct identities in the Americas or Australia. At some point, they no longer saw themselves as simply British or Spanish. They became Americans, Australians, people with their own sense of independence and purpose. The same could happen on the moons of Saturn. As the generations born on these moons increase, so too will their sense of autonomy. They might eventually demand their own governments, their own economies, even their own place in the broader solar system. And what about Earth itself? As the colonies grow more independent, Earth could find itself in an entirely new position, no longer the center of human civilization, but just one world among many. How will Earth respond to the growing influence of the colonies? Will there be tension between the old world and these new societies? History has shown that when colonies grow powerful, they often challenge the authority of the places they once relied on. It's not hard to imagine a future where the Saturnian colonies, with their wealth of resources and advanced technologies, push back against Earth's influence, perhaps even seeking full independence. This possibility raises another question. What will it mean for humanity when Earth is no longer at the center of everything? For so long, Earth has been our cradle, our only home. But as we expand further into space, as we create new worlds from the frozen moons of Saturn and beyond, our connection to Earth could weaken. We might become a species that lives on many worlds, each one different from the next, with no single place to call home. Will that diversity strengthen us, or will it lead to division? The future of the Saturnian colonies is more than just a technological or scientific challenge. It's a challenge to the very fabric of what it means to be human. As we push further into space, we're also pushing the boundaries of our culture, our identity, and our sense of belonging. We're entering a future where the human experience could be more diverse than ever before, but also more fragmented. And in that future, the biggest question might not be about how we terraform new worlds, but about how we stay connected to each other across those vast distances. Navigating the complexities of identity and culture in the Saturnian colonies brings us to another critical aspect of this transformation: the role of governance and societal structures in these new environments. As we establish thriving communities on Titan, Enceladus, and beyond, we must consider what forms of government will emerge in these colonies. The settlers will need systems that not only manage day-to-day life, but also address the unique challenges of living in such extreme and artificially created environments. Initially, it's likely that governance will mirror that of Earth, with structures that resemble democratic systems, perhaps even modeled on current Earth governments. After all, those who are settling these moons are predominantly Earthlings, carrying with them the values and political frameworks they've known. But as the colonies develop, we may see those systems evolve into something entirely new. The challenges posed by isolation, resource scarcity, and the need for self-sustainability could lead to innovative governance structures that prioritize adaptability and collaboration. Imagine a scenario where traditional hierarchies dissolve in favor of more decentralized, community-driven approaches. In a world where everyone is reliant on one another for survival, it may become crucial for colonists to work together closely. This could lead to systems based on direct democracy or consensus decision-making, where each individual's voice carries weight in shaping their community. Such a shift would foster a deep sense of belonging and responsibility, reinforcing the idea that each person plays a vital role in the survival and prosperity of their new home. However, with innovation comes the potential for conflict. As we mentioned earlier, the cultural and ideological differences that may arise over generations could lead to friction between Earth and the colonies. Perhaps some settlers will feel that Earth's influence is stifling their development, while others might fear that the colonies could become reckless and unsustainable without oversight. This tension could give rise to movements advocating for greater independence, or even full autonomy from Earth, sparking debates over the rights of these colonies. Consider the implications of that potential independence. What would it mean for Earth if the colonies on Saturn's moons started to chart their own destinies? How would Earth respond to demands for greater representation and self-governance? Would there be negotiations? Or could we witness the emergence of an outright struggle for power? History has shown that when colonies push for independence, the process is often fraught with challenges, requiring careful navigation of politics, emotions, and at times, conflict. This brings us to the importance of diplomacy and cooperation in this new era. For the colonies to thrive, a strong foundation of communication and understanding must be established between Earth and its outer settlements. This might mean creating diplomatic bodies that facilitate discussions about shared resources, governance, and cultural exchanges, allowing both sides to learn from one another. As we look to the future, The ability to foster relationships built on mutual respect and collaboration could be crucial to maintaining peace and stability across the solar system. Moreover, let's not forget the role of technology in shaping governance. In a future where data and AI systems are integral to life on Saturn's moons, we could see governance that heavily relies on technology to facilitate decision-making and community engagement. Imagine using advanced algorithms to analyze resource needs, environmental conditions, and social dynamics to inform policies. While this could lead to more efficient governance, it also raises questions about transparency and control. Who gets to decide how data is used and who holds the power in these digital governance systems? In this brave new world, we must remain vigilant about the balance of power, ensuring that governance is inclusive and representative of the diverse voices in these colonies will be essential for building a just society. It's a tightrope walk between innovation and accountability, and one that will define the character of the Saturnian colonies as they evolve. As we continue our journey through this imagined future, we must always keep in mind that the way we govern ourselves will shape not just our immediate experiences on these moons, but also our long-term legacy as a species. Will we cultivate societies that prioritize sustainability, equality, and collaboration? Or will we repeat the mistakes of our past, allowing divisions and conflicts to undermine our collective progress? The answers to these questions lie in the choices we make today as we stand at the forefront of humanity's greatest adventure. As we delve deeper into the future of the Saturnian colonies, we must also consider the role of education and knowledge sharing in shaping these new societies. Education has always been a cornerstone of human progress, and in the context of terraforming and colonization, it will take on a whole new significance. Imagine children born on Titan learning not just about mathematics or history, but also about the intricacies of living in a synthetic environment, the delicate balance of ecosystems, and the ethics of terraforming. The curriculum will need to adapt dramatically to fit the unique realities of life on these moons. Traditional subjects will still be vital, but there will be a heavy emphasis on science, engineering, and environmental stewardship. Students will need to understand how to maintain their habitats, manage resources effectively, and navigate the challenges of living in a place where every element is engineered for survival. This could lead to a generation of thinkers and innovators who are not only capable of solving the problems of their time, but are also keenly aware of the broader implications of their actions. Moreover, education will be key in fostering a sense of identity and community among the settlers. As these colonies grow, they will develop their own cultures, histories, and narratives. Schools will likely become places where stories of Earth are intertwined with tales of the first settlers and their experiences adapting to life on Saturn's moons. This blend of past and present will create a rich tapestry of cultural identity, helping to ground the settlers in a shared history, while also allowing them to forge their own paths. In addition to traditional education, the use of technology in teaching will open up new possibilities for learning. Virtual reality classrooms could simulate various scenarios, allowing students to experience what it's like to manage a farming operation on Titan or conduct experiments in a low-gravity environment. Such immersive experiences would not only make learning more engaging, but also better prepare students for the realities they will face in adulthood. As we consider the educational landscape of the colonies, we must also address the importance of continuous learning for adults. Life on Saturn's moons will be a constant learning curve, and providing opportunities for professional development will be crucial. Workshops, online courses, and community initiatives could empower individuals to adapt to changing circumstances, encouraging innovation and resilience. This commitment to lifelong learning could become a defining characteristic of Saturnian society, emphasizing that knowledge is not just a tool for personal advancement, but a collective resource that benefits the entire community. But education goes beyond mere skills and knowledge. It is also about instilling values. The stories we tell and the lessons we impart will shape the moral and ethical framework of these new societies. As we grapple with the implications of terraforming and the responsibilities that come with it, discussions about ethics will be paramount. Questions around our right to alter these moons, the impact of our actions on potential indigenous life forms, and our responsibilities to future generations will need to be woven into educational curricula. Creating a culture of ethical inquiry will encourage individuals to reflect on their choices and consider the broader consequences of their actions. It could foster a sense of stewardship that permeates every aspect of life in the colonies, ensuring that sustainability and respect for the environment become integral to their identities. As they navigate the complexities of their existence, these settlers will carry the weight of history, both their own and that of humanity, as they strive to build a better future. Ultimately, the educational systems established on these moons will play a crucial role in shaping the next chapter of human civilization. As we teach the children of Titan and Enceladus, we are not just preparing them to survive, we are preparing them to thrive in a complex and ever-changing world. By instilling a love for learning, a commitment to community, and a sense of responsibility for the environment, we can help ensure that the Saturnian colonies are places where human potential can flourish, and where the lessons of the past guide us toward a more hopeful future. As we explore the future of the Saturnian colonies, we can't overlook the impact of technology on daily life and the ways it will reshape our interactions, work, and leisure. In a world that requires constant adaptation to unique environmental challenges, technology will be our lifeline. The innovations we've already begun to implement will only grow in complexity and importance as we establish more permanent settlements. Imagine stepping into a typical day on Titan. As you wake up in your domed habitat, automated systems adjust the temperature and light levels to mimic the natural day-night cycle, a vital psychological boost for those who may feel disconnected from Earth. You might check in with your virtual assistant, perhaps a holographic companion who helps plan your day, reminding you of tasks like checking the hydroponic farms or maintaining the oxygen generators. This integration of AI and automation into daily routines will be crucial for managing life on these moons, freeing humans to focus on creativity, problem-solving, and community building. Work on Saturn's moons will likely look very different from what we know today. While we still need human ingenuity and oversight, many tasks will be automated. Robotics will play a pivotal role in agriculture, construction, and even in managing the terraforming processes themselves. Imagine robots tending to vast fields of genetically engineered crops, ensuring they thrive in low gravity, or drones monitoring the environmental conditions of the colonies. This shift could lead to a society where labor is redefined. With machines taking over routine tasks, people may have more time to pursue their passions, engage in the arts, or contribute to scientific research. However, with this reliance on technology comes a set of challenges and ethical considerations. As we hand over more responsibilities to machines, how do we ensure they operate safely and effectively? What happens if our systems fail? There will need to be robust protocols for maintenance, troubleshooting, and human oversight to ensure that these technologies serve our needs and do not become a liability. As we rely on automated systems to sustain our lives, our ability to troubleshoot and manage crises will become a critical skill set. This means that educational programs will need to include a strong emphasis on STEM education, not just to create a workforce that understands technology, but to cultivate a population that can think critically about it. Moreover, the relationship between humans and technology will likely lead to philosophical questions about our existence and what it means to be human. As we live in an environment heavily mediated by technology, we might find ourselves grappling with issues of identity and autonomy. For instance, if AI systems can efficiently manage entire colonies, will our roles be diminished? This relationship will be central to the cultural discussions in Saturn's colonies, shaping everything from art to ethics and influencing how future generations view their roles in society. As we continue to adapt and innovate, the landscape of leisure and social interaction will also transform. Virtual reality technology may enable settlers to experience social gatherings that mimic Earth's communal spaces. Picture immersive environments where friends can share a virtual coffee break, enjoying simulated views of Earth's landscapes, or even participate in concerts and cultural events that bring together voices from both the colonies and Earth. These technologies can help bridge the emotional gaps created by distance, fostering a sense of community despite the physical separation. Furthermore, as we cultivate a new cultural identity on these moons, artistic expression will likely flourish in unexpected ways. With different environmental conditions and experiences shaping the lives of settlers, we could see the emergence of unique art forms and musical styles that blend Earth's traditions with new influences. Artists might experiment with new materials found in their environments, creating works that reflect their lived experiences on these moons. The act of creating art could become a powerful way for settlers to process their feelings about their identities, their connection to Earth, and their hopes for the future. In essence, the technological and cultural landscape of Saturn's moons will be dynamic and ever-evolving. As we harness technology to build sustainable communities, we must also remain vigilant about the values we uphold and the relationships we foster, both with each other and with the systems we create. By prioritizing ethical considerations and human-centered design in our technological advancements, we can create a future where innovation and humanity coexist harmoniously, paving the way for a thriving society in the depths of space. As we wrap up our journey through the future of the Saturnian colonies, let's take a moment to reflect on the environmental implications of our ambitious terraforming projects. When we think about colonizing other worlds, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of innovation and exploration, but we must also confront the ethical responsibility that comes with transforming these celestial bodies. After all, terraforming isn't just about making a place livable for humans, it's about understanding the ecosystems that exist, or might exist, and our role in them. When we set out to terraform moons like Titan or Enceladus, we're essentially playing the role of planetary engineers. This process involves altering the atmospheric conditions, temperature, and surface composition to create an environment suitable for human life. However, we must ask ourselves, what happens to the existing ecosystems, however fragile or alien, when we make these changes? Are we potentially eradicating life forms that might have evolved in ways we don't yet understand? These are critical questions that will need to guide our terraforming efforts. One of the first steps in ethical terraforming will be conducting thorough research on the moons themselves. Titan, for example, is a world rich in hydrocarbons and has a thick atmosphere which might harbor unique forms of life, albeit not in ways we would recognize. Enceladus, on the other hand, has shown signs of subsurface oceans and geysers that hint at a potentially habitable environment beneath its icy crust. If we proceed without understanding the implications of our actions, we risk not only damaging these moons, but also losing potential scientific discoveries about the origins of life beyond Earth. This brings us to the concept of astrobiology, the study of the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. As we develop our terraforming plans, it's crucial that we integrate insights from astrobiology to understand what constitutes a viable ecosystem and how we can coexist with any existing forms of life. For instance, what if we discover microbial life in the subsurface oceans of Enceladus? The ethical implications of our actions would shift dramatically. Would we be willing to adjust our terraforming goals to preserve these life forms, even if it meant sacrificing our ambitions for human colonization? Moreover, the broader conversation about our role in the universe should inform how we approach terraforming. Are we caretakers of these worlds, or conquerors? Adopting a mindset of stewardship can help guide our actions, ensuring that we treat these celestial bodies with respect and consideration. This could mean developing guidelines that prioritize the preservation of existing environments, or creating no-go zones on moons, where research indicates the presence of potential life. Another important aspect of this conversation is the technology we employ. As we innovate, we must strive for sustainable practices that minimize our environmental impact. For example, utilizing renewable energy sources like solar or geothermal power to support our colonies can mitigate the environmental footprint of our presence. Additionally, developing closed-loop systems for waste and resource management can ensure that we're not depleting the moon's natural resources or polluting their surfaces. We can also look to the principles of biomimicry, where our technologies and designs are inspired by the processes and systems found in nature. By observing and learning from the ecological practices that have evolved on Earth, we can create solutions that work in harmony with the environments we're aiming to terraform. This means not just transplanting Earth life onto these moons, but adapting and evolving our approaches to suit the unique conditions of Titan, Enceladus, and beyond. Ultimately, the future of the Saturnian colonies hinges not only on our technological capabilities, but also on our ethical considerations as we engage in this grand endeavor. As we move forward, it's essential to cultivate a mindset of responsibility, curiosity, and respect for the worlds we're exploring. By doing so, we can ensure that our legacy is one of collaboration and coexistence, rather than one of destruction and dominance. As we continue to dream and plan for life beyond Earth, let's remember that the choices we make today will echo through generations to come. By committing to ethical terraforming practices and honoring the environments we touch, we can forge a future that reflects our highest ideals. A future where humanity can thrive among the stars, while also safeguarding the delicate balance of life, wherever it may be found. Now, as we near the conclusion of our exploration into the terraforming of Saturn's moons, it's essential to focus on the personal stories and human experiences that will shape the character of these new societies. While we've discussed the grand visions of technology, governance, and ethical considerations, we must also acknowledge that at the heart of this transformation are the individuals, the pioneers who will venture into the unknown, leaving behind their homes on Earth for a life among the stars. Imagine for a moment the motivations driving these settlers. Some may be drawn by the promise of adventure, eager to be part of a groundbreaking journey that extends humanity's reach. Others might be fleeing from challenges back home, seeking refuge from overpopulation, environmental degradation, or political turmoil. This mixture of backgrounds, hopes, and dreams will create a vibrant tapestry of cultures on Saturn's moons. As these settlers come together, they'll bring their own traditions, languages, and perspectives, leading to a unique cultural synthesis that reflects the best of human diversity. Yet the experience of starting anew in such an alien environment will not be without its challenges. The emotional toll of leaving behind everything familiar cannot be underestimated. Many settlers will grapple with homesickness, longing for the landscapes, sounds, and communities they once knew. As we think about the psychological aspects of this journey, it's important to consider how we can support one another in building a sense of belonging and connection in these remote environments. Communities will need to develop support systems that promote mental well-being. This might include regular communication with loved ones back on Earth, mental health services tailored to the unique stresses of living in isolated high-tech environments, and opportunities for social engagement. Creating spaces where settlers can gather, share stories, and celebrate milestones will be vital in nurturing a sense of community and camaraderie. Imagine communal areas where families come together to cook meals, share their cultural traditions, and create a rich social fabric that binds them together. Moreover, as settlers navigate their new lives, they will inevitably face conflicts and tensions, both among themselves and with the challenges of their surroundings. Disagreements over resource allocation, differing values regarding terraforming, or simply the strains of living in close quarters can lead to friction. It's crucial that these emerging communities establish frameworks for conflict resolution, encouraging open dialogue and mutual understanding. Perhaps this could involve training in conflict management or incorporating practices from various cultural traditions that prioritize community harmony. In addition to these interpersonal dynamics, the settlers will also have to forge connections with their new environments. The challenges of living in a terraformed ecosystem, understanding its rhythms, and finding ways to adapt to the changing conditions will be a significant part of daily life. This could lead to a profound appreciation for the interconnectedness of life, not just among themselves, but also with the moons they inhabit. As they learn to cultivate crops in hydroponic gardens or care for livestock adapted to low gravity, these settlers will develop a deeper relationship with their surroundings, fostering a sense of stewardship over their new home. As we reflect on the personal journeys of these settlers, it's essential to acknowledge the potential for resilience and growth. While the challenges may be formidable, they can also serve as catalysts for innovation and creativity. Settlers may develop new ways of living, working, and relating to one another that could redefine what it means to be human in this new context. This journey could lead to a renaissance of human expression, where art, music, and literature flourish in response to the unique experiences of life on Saturn's moons. Ultimately, the story of the Saturnian colonies will not just be about technology or governance. It will be a deeply human tale, woven from the dreams, struggles, and triumphs of the individuals who dared to venture into the cosmos. As we stand on the brink of this new era, let's celebrate the spirit of exploration and the enduring power of connection that will guide us as we navigate this exciting frontier. By embracing our shared humanity, we can build a future where every individual contributes to the story of our journey beyond Earth, a narrative filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings.